Social media, what I call it, is an amplification of your strategy. Anyone that thinks that social media and mobility are strategies by themselves will not be successful.
Bernie, you're the co-author of Branded, a great book about how retailers engage consumers with social media and mobility. Tell us a little bit, why did you write the book? Why did you decide to write the book?
Well, we wrote the book, first of all, because what's happening in the digital world, in retail in particular, but in totality, is unlike anything I've ever seen in my career. And I've had a long career. For the first time, the customer is really in charge. The customer has the data, they're tech savvy, they could be in the aisle of your store, swiping the barcode, getting other people's prices, product information, etc. And if they have all that information, Lori and I felt we need to explain to retailers what they can do with that in a positive way, as opposed to worrying about what they have.
And there's so many points where customers are adding this data, where they might be checking in Foursquare in one store, or they might be twitting their friends about something they just bought. So clearly, what you might have felt is the retailers were out of balance with the way they were looking at the data and how they were using it to relate to their consumers.
Well, what I did is, one weekend I traveled a number of stores for 2 days, and I went in and I talked to sales associates. I asked them about information that I had in my iPhone. I didn't show it to them. The poor sales associates were the most ill-informed people in the entire store, and which is another subject that we can go to later if you'd like, but everybody has to get smarter here. But the point of it is, the customer has the information. The customer, she can shop online, she can shop in the store, catalog, on the mobile. The point of it is, this is a new dynamic right now. And a good retailer who decides, I'm going to use this to my advantage, can gain market share and can be extraordinarily successful. So you say to yourself, why wouldn't you do this? So we talked to a number of retailers and people and other people in business, and it was somewhat the internet approach. Well, we don't want to be the first ones to do this.
Sure.
But this is not like the internet. The internet was companies talking to consumers. This is two-way. So you can't wait in this case. And so, as a, I guess, fairly practical person, I said to myself, why wouldn't you want to do this?
Right.
And so we had a number of people in the industry that have said, if you could write this book, and I could take it to my CEO, or you could hold a conference or whatever, I think it would move us dramatically. And the good news is that's what's happening.
And so when you talk about social media and different ways to engage here, we're not talking about social media as a hype. You actually have in the book a way for organizations to think about how social media is one of the channels they engage with their customers with. Can you take us through how to think about it as a CEO and maybe the things to not do with social media?
Well, I'd say number one, that anyone that thinks that social media and mobility are strategies by themselves will not be successful. On the other hand, if the strategy is coherent, if the culture is open and willing to interact, social media, what I call it, is an amplification of your strategy. So if you have a market share of 12% and you can really execute social media effectively, you might go to 14%. But if you start out, at the bottom, it's not going to move you up dramatically. So it's really the whole idea of engagement. And the interesting thing, Bruno, is customers want to participate. You've seen them on Twitter, you've seen them on Facebook. They want to talk to you. And I learned a long time ago, customers really want to tell you as long as they know you're listening.
And this is true across all generations. Another big point in your book is that people using social media are not just teenagers, but they're actually every type of generation. Now, when you think about the people making the mistakes, going to social media as the strategy, I think, as we were talking earlier, you said, the first mistake is don't hire a social media consultant because social media is a representation of your culture. Do you have examples of organizations that do this well today?
Well, I think Zappos would be an excellent example. Zappos has 1,500 associates. 500 of those tweet every day. And the only guideline is represent Zappos and wow the customer. And that's it. And then if you take somebody like a Best Buy, which is a 50-year-old company doing $50 billion a year, and an older management team, I can say that, of course, they went to their sales associates who averaged 22 years old. They're the ones that came up with the internal social media Blue Shirt Nation, which then became 12 Force. So a lot of people said to me, well, I hear it every day, heard it today. Well, of course, Apple's, they're a young company, and Tony Hsieh is a great leader, et cetera. I say, come on, you can't buy into that, because it's all about what you want to do as leadership. If you want to do it and you want to dip in and you want to either use associates you have or bring in new talent that understands all this. And one CEO said to me, well, I don't think I'll ever get this, Bernie. I said, don't worry about it. If you believe that engaging with customers can be this powerful, other people can help you effectively do it.
So you talk about Zappos here, which is a fairly young organization, but there's the example of Macy's as well, 150 years old, that's using great social media strategies and mobility as a way to engage. What's their result there?
Well, the result has been just a little bit on Macy's. Macy's, as you know, was a group of different acquired companies. They brought the companies together. They finally put it under one banner called Macy's. They saved hundreds of millions of dollars, in advertising expense. But they also realized that the customers from Filene's in Boston and Marshall Field and wherever else, they still didn't feel that Macy's was addressing their local needs. My department store.
Sure.
So they've gone to a program called localization, where they're tailoring merchandise assortments by region, by metro market, et cetera. And now with the ability to execute social media, Facebook, Twitter, Macy's has one of the highest number of videos on YouTube, if anybody on YouTube. So the point of it is they're taking something that was huge, they brought it together, now they're localizing it. And Best Buy, localization is a big piece of this. It's called accessibility. The customer can reach you any way they want, or you can reach them. Personalization, I know who Bruno is, and when Bruno is coming in, I can address what he needs. And localization, I'm hitting people on a local market basis. So it's, again, when people just talk about social media and mobility, it's all these pieces behind it that make it work.
So, and this creates obviously opportunities for organizations, but also challenges when it comes to data, incorporating all this information to understand sentiment analysis, but also using data to now cater to more specific segments. Are you finding
Absolutely.
that then marketing practices need to change? Because the more information you have about your consumers, the more you can segment who these customers are.
Well, customer segmentation has been around in different ways. A lot of it was just done on credit card information, et cetera. But now you can really follow a customer in a store. You can understand what they buy. When they walk in the store, you can say, Bruno, in aisle 7 today, we have those great beige shirts you like. And so all of a sudden, they're speaking to you by name, and they're talking about product they know you have an interest in. So this personalization is really just beginning, but there are a lot of retailers that are really going after it aggressively.
I think this is really a great indication of the trends, not simply the fact that you have social media and mobility, but also this fact that you have so much data about that particular individual that you can truly proactively help themselves better. Well, Bernie, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Until next time, I'm Bruno Aziza.